Spirits are now high surrounding the Philadelphia Phillies once again as they've won their last 7 series, including most recently taking 2 of 3 against the New York Mets. However, there is some news to pay attention to off the field, as the Phillies have been connected to a potential superstar on the market in Juan Soto this offseason. I want to talk about what specifically is being said, whether or not the Phillies have a true chance at making this type of blockbuster deal, and everything else that you guys do need to know. But before I dive fully into it, do want to remind you guys to make sure you are smashing that subscribe button. That at this point in time, 85% of you guys tuning into these videos have not subscribed to the channel just yet. We're getting into that home stretch, ready for a red October, and want as many people as possible a part of this Phillies Digest family. So make sure to smash that subscribe button, helps us out here. And now let's get into the topic of today. So we get the report that there are executives around the MLB that believe the Phillies will bid on Juan Soto. And to get the full context of the article, we have written that on Sunday, Bob Nightingale of the USA Today reported that the Phillies are one of 5 teams expected to make a bid for Soto in the offseason. At least that's the belief among certain baseball executives. The other 4 teams certain people in the industry think will bid on Soto are the Yankees, New York Mets, Toronto Blue Jays, and San Francisco Giants. Soto is having a great season in the Bronx. The 25-year-old entered Sunday with a .985 OPS and a career-high 39 home runs. Paired with Aaron Judge atop the Yankees lineup, Soto has been a huge part of the club's success this season. New York currently leads the AL East with an 86-83 record. Being able to see him up close, along with being able to see what it's like playing for the club, probably makes the Yankees the favorites to sign Soto this offseason. While the Mets are probably right behind the Yankees in terms of the club most likely to add Soto, money does talk. Phillies managing partner John Middleton wants to win, and he's shown his willingness to spend a lot of money to do so. Maybe the Phillies come up short in October. Middleton would be willing to open up his pockets again, maybe not. The club already has a lot of money guaranteed in their 2025 payroll. Soto is probably going to sign a contract worth at least $500 million. Financially, it may not be possible for the Phillies to pull it off. So a couple notes to here. Number one, the article is absolutely right that money talks. And luckily, I think John Middleton is the perfect balance of rich and crazy to potentially make this happen. And let's not forget that there is some history here, that the Washington Nationals have essentially become a farm system for this Phillies team, as you can see the pictures of both Bryce Harper and Trey Turner. And as the article mentioned, that there is going to be a lot of money sent in the direction of Soto. Now, if you do want to look at some of the odds from Bet Online here, this is the Phillies as the number one option if he is not to re-sign with the Yankees. A bit surprised the Mets down at plus 900. It does feel like there's a bit of a buzz there. I would have them above the Cubs absolutely as far as this, but I do think the conversation, a lot of it's going to be dictated on how the rest of the season plays out. If Middleton watches this team come up a little bit short again, I could see him getting crazy and making things happen. And let's not brush over how impactful Juan Soto could be. This guy with 39 home runs, 101 RBIs, a .415 on base percentage this year. He's walked 119 times in his 537 at bats while tallying 153 hits. A guy that truly is that level of superstar that we kind of very few that there are in the game at this point. And I think that's what brings me to the point for why I could see this working with this Phillies team is we do see the identity with Bryce Harper. That is a superstar. That is a guy whose impact you feel on the field every time he's out there, how infectious it is within the locker room, and the fear that he strikes into opponents when they step to the plate. Kyle Schwarber, I might potentially throw in that category because when he is on and smashing home runs, you see the way that pitchers are just fearful to give him anything to touch. But when you look at the rest of this Phillies lineup, I wouldn't quite consider him those caliber of guys. A guy like Trey Turner, who in my eyes was signed to be one of these superstar players, kind of is just a little boring. That he's just a good player, a guy that I think you can win with, a guy that I think can be successful on a team, but he is not this level of superstar that strikes fear into opponents' hearts. That's what the deal would be with Juan Soto, who once again, these stats speak for themselves. But to compare them directly, as I mentioned, Bryce Harper is a guy that I would throw in this category. We do know the home run numbers are down a little bit as he battles through the wrist and elbow issues, but very nice to see him knock out 2 in a game this weekend against the Mets, and now we're starting to see him fall into form when it matters most. A guy like Trey Turner, I would not consider in that category of the true superstar. And again, I think we can win with Trey. I think Trey can continue to be a valuable part of this team, but I do think my expectations have changed slightly. And another guy that I sort of feel that way about is Nick Castellanos. I like having Nick Castellanos on this Phillies team, and for what it's worth, he's been excellent this year, far above what I even think the perception of him or what the acknowledgement of his play has been. He's been great, but I also don't think he's a guy that you're worried about pitching around. And we know the highs and lows of Nick Castellanos, that it's great when he's red hot, and that has been for the better portion of this season. But there's also the moments in which he is ice cold, and that it's just basically a free out in the lineup, and it hurts when that is the case there. Adding a guy like Juan Soto, the entire picture changes. That all of a sudden the expectations for these guys is a little different. We're not talking about, that needing that guy in the middle of the lineup. We're not asking Nick Castellanos to bat fifth or fourth on an every night basis in the way that we've seen for stretches with this team, particularly in the middle of the injuries. So when looking at the contracts for this Phillies team and to pull it up, you can see there's plenty of money on the books already. That Bryce Harper being paid like a grade A guy. Trey Turner being paid like a grade A guy. You see all the arms that they have been invested in with Aaron Nola and Zack Wheeler, JT Realmuto, Nick Castellanos. There's a lot of guys still under contract that the Phillies have to worry about. But again, I do think John Middleton is that balance of deep pockets and has the personality to make it happen. That I do respect, and I think this should be a model for how organizations should be run by the owners of sports. Is John Middleton cares whether or not that he can win, that he does have that kind of competitive drive as an owner, that he wants to give this team the best chance to win. And what's unique about baseball with the salary cap situation is it's not as clear cut of, making sure you're keeping cap space available or prioritizing getting things off the books next year. There is not this hard cap that we look at when you compare it to sports like basketball and the NBA or the NFL and football, where you got to kind of dance around the cap here. John Middleton wants to pay more money. He simply can do that. And that's what does open this door for potential Juan Soto. And there was a story that floated around. I was going to pull it up, but just kind of didn't have room on all the slides for this one. But as far as there was a fan that made a comment to John Middleton, who, by the way, I've seen plenty of times just hanging out there, oftentimes in the upper decks of the bleachers, which I think is also extra cool at Phillies game. But a fan went up to John Middleton and said, "Hey, you got to sign Juan Soto this summer." And Middleton just looked back and just said, "Well, he's got to become a free agent first," which I think is a gangster response. And once again, it kind of feeds into what we're saying of this dude does care. This dude does have that competitive drive, and this dude is going to do whatever it takes to bring a World Series to Philadelphia. So who knows? That still very well could be this year. That I do think that this Phillies team is peaking at the right time, looking to be playing their best baseball, or at least close to it once again. That they're through that lull that they hit midseason and their struggles. I do have a lot of faith in this team. The arms are coming together. Still a little concerned about Ranger Suarez, but Christopher Sanchez has been terrific. Aaron Nola, we know who he is at this point. Zack Wheeler, we know who he is at this point. The bat's falling back into form, seeing some pop out of Bryce Harper at the plate. I'm feeling good about how this Phillies team is really trending in the right direction, and the countdown to October is officially here. About half the month left to go, and then it is playoff season. The match number down to 5 at the point of me recording this video here. But very excited about what's to come both now and in the offseason for this Phillies team, as Juan Soto watch may need to begin in Philadelphia. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Would you be interested in adding a player of his magnitude to this Phillies team here, or are you content with the core that has already been established? Either way, I do want to hear from you guys. And once again, make sure you are smashing that subscribe button. Still, 85% of you guys have not subscribed to the channel just yet, so we want to grow out this Phillies Digest family. Let's get over that 1,000 subscriber mark before the playoffs start, and then we want as many people as possible a part of the Phillies journey throughout this hopefully long playoff run. So make sure you're smashing that subscribe button, dropping a like below, and any thoughts that you have in the comments. And I'll be talking with you next time right here on Phillies Digest. Peace.